It's the car that was born from the ashes of the very first Japanese sports car, the very machine that put Nissan on the map with a name inspired by a Broadway musical. It's been rallying, racing, and drifting its way through enthusiast hearts and minds since the late 60s. Today, we are talking about the line of sports cars that proves you don't have to spend a lot of money to have a ton of fun. Yes, that is right, folks. It is the Nissan Z. And make sure you stick around till the end. We're gonna find out which generation is the most ideal. My name is Brad, this is Ideal, and this is The Rundown. Yeah, your future garage just called and it asked, bro, where is my ideal dream car? Well, it might just be in our very first Ideal Collective giveaway. We're about to drop it, and if you sign up for free right now in the pinned first comment, you'll be the first to see it. No spam, no weird surveys, just sweet Ideal cars. Hit the link and let your garage live its best life. Now, back to the show. In 2021, the all-new Z was unveiled to the public by none other than Cody Walker, Paul Walker's brother. It hit the market in 2022 as a 2023 model. And somehow, even though it was never called the 400Z, a lot of people seem to think that's what it's named. Inspired by the Z Proto, it's everything we hoped it would be, mostly. Packing a 400 horsepower punch, this twin-turbocharged V6 VR30 DDTT monster was ready to show the world what Japanese performance was all about. But let's not forget the real highlight here, which was the 6-speed manual transmission feeding power through a carbon fiber drive shaft. And if that sounds expensive, well, it was. It was in an era where manuals were becoming a rare sight, and Nissan is keeping the tradition alive. But you'll have to opt for the Mercedes-made 9-speed automatic to hit the car's advertised 4-second 0 to 60. It rides on an evolution of Nissan's Z34 platform and is known internally as the RZ34. It's got aluminum double wishbone suspension up front and multi-link design in the rear with a factory front tower brace that stiffens everything up. And oh yeah, an optional clutch type limited slip diff thrown in because obviously, inside it's the nicest Z yet, and in our opinion, it drives the best of all of them too. And while opinions are still out on the look, especially in regards to the front bumper and grille situation, we think it looks great in person. And with the recent announcement of the new Nismo Z, it seems like pretty much everyone's complaints will be addressed, even if it might only be coming with an automatic. Yes, it's a little on the expensive side, and yeah, depending on how it's equipped, tipping the scales at over 3,600 pounds means it could stand to hit the gym. But let's be real, new cars with new tech and new safety measures are simply heavier. But trust us, behind the wheel doesn't feel particularly overweight. The new Z is a car that proves that Nissan can still deliver pure, visceral driving thrills, and it's a nod to all the Z cars that came before it. Now rewind to 2008, and the 370Z was making its debut. Following the success of the 350, the 370Z had some big shoes to fill, and boy, did it deliver. Equipped with the larger 3.7-liter VQ V6 and upgraded suspension, the 370Z was ready to face off against its German and American rivals. The 370Z showed that Nissan was serious about keeping the Z in the sports car game. Even though it looked sort of like a warmed over version, it was much more than just an updated 350Z. It was a proper evolution. It was more refined, more aggressive, and downright faster. And even though typically as cars progress through the generations, they get bigger and bigger, the 370, it actually shrunk. It was nearly 3 inches shorter in total length, with a wheelbase that got smaller by almost a full 4 inches. It did get wider by a little over an inch. And with the size bonus came a weight savings of over 100 pounds. In addition to more power, less weight, and new looks, it received refinements too. And not just to the engine, but the suspension, brakes, and the interior, which were all reworked. It had more premium materials, pretty much everywhere, and the slope of the roof was redesigned as a nod to the older Zs, which looks fantastic. Now, all Zs are ideal, but the 370 and the 370 Nismo in particular were high watermark for the platform. Now, in 2002, the 350Z was born. Now, you have to remember that Nissan as a company was in pretty rough shape and undergoing this new revival plan put in place by the company's new leader, Carlos Ghosn, which you should definitely go check out this video right up here, because Nissan had been quiet on the Z front since the 300ZX, and the world was ready. No, they were begging for a new Z. And while Ghosn had made some controversial decisions, it was a stroke of genius to bring back an affordable sports car designed to rekindle the fire of the legendary Z series. And the 350Z did not disappoint. Built on the new front midship platform, the 350Z offered a perfect balance of power and handling with a 3.5-liter V6, putting out 287 horsepower and 274 foot-pounds of torque. The 350Z was a return to form for Nissan's sports car line. It was a car that was all about balance and performance, and it was a clear message that Nissan was back in the sports car game. Because unlike the version that came before it, that in its day was a technological marvel, with its twin turbochargers and rear steering, the 350 got back to basics. Silky smooth, naturally aspirated power sent to the rear wheels that don't have a mind of their own, all bolted to the most balanced and nailed down chassis yet. It came at a time when tuner culture was making a meteoric rise across the globe, and its features in movies, video games, and pop culture repositioned how the world viewed the company as a whole. Its sort of retro future design is absolutely iconic, and its signature exhaust note, which can be described as either noise or music depending on who you ask, helped make Z the most talked about letter in the business. This is a car that was truly ahead of its time. From its futuristic design to its powerful twin-turbo V6, this was the embodiment of 90s sports car cool. But the 300ZX was more than just cool. It was a high-performance machine that could keep up with the best the world had to offer. And for the first time, Nissan had tried to take the Z car up into the premium sports car market. Upmarket enough for Lamborghini to steal its headlights for the Diablo. The 300ZX represents a pinnacle in Nissan's sports car design and performance. It was a statement that Nissan could not only compete with the best sports cars in the world, but also offer something unique and distinctive. It was a radical departure from the Z cars that came before it, putting an emphasis on technology and forward thinking. It was peak early digital age engineering, yet it was still limited by the technology that existed in its time. A complicated twin turbocharging system was controlled by miles of wires and vacuum lines, all plugged into seemingly hundreds of solenoids, valves, and control modules. Computer-controlled rear-wheel steering, electronically adjustable suspension, digital instrument cluster, driver and passenger airbags, automatic climate control, electric power seats, and oh yeah, T-tops. Get rid of that hair, bro. While it was reviewed favorably by journalists and early adopters, the cost of all the tech came at a price. It added weight, complexity, and when it went wrong, and it did, it wasn't cheap to fix, leading to a pretty massive decline in sales. But man, Z32s are cool. The Z31300ZX was the first time the car went on sale here in America badged as a Nissan and not a Datsun, and that's another story for another time, but what you need to know is that this was the car that started the trend of turning the Z from a bona fide sports car to a slightly more upscale Grand Tourer. It came with a naturally aspirated or turbocharged 3-liter V6, hence the 300 in the name, and Nissan's voice warning system, which is just straight hilarious, and it had pop-up headlights. This is the car that is pure 80s, and I mean that in the best way possible. Let's take a step back into the time when it all started, the 240Z, the genesis of the Z car. Released in 1969, the 240Z was Nissan's answer to the European and American sports cars of the day. Equipped with a 2.4-liter inline-six, disc brakes, rack and pinion steering, and a lightweight body, the 240Z was a big hit. It was a sports car that can compete with the likes of Porsche and Alfa Romeo, but at a fraction of the cost. It's this very car that got Americans to stop looking at Japanese cars not as novelties and start buying them. And while Nissan's first sports car, the British-style Roadster sold here as the Datsun 2000 Roadster in its final 2-liter form, it was the 240Z that started it all. And we would have had it sooner had Nissan not rejected Yamaha's plans to help build the new Fairlady, the car that wound up becoming the Toyota 2000 GT. We're getting a little off track here, but go check out the story we did on Yamaha. Trust me, it is amazing. This was the car that introduced the world to the fighter jet inspired Z. So named because Z was the last letter in the alphabet, and this machine was to be the last word in sports cars. It went on and evolved into the 260 and then ultimately the 280, both cars that got numerous refinements and design changes in addition to larger engines over the years. But it was the 240 that was the first step in creating a lineage of sports cars that continue to deliver thrills to this day. Now, like I said earlier, you really can't go wrong with any generation of Z. The 240 through the Z31 are ultra cool and timeless, but they're pretty old now. The Z31300ZX was like one of the greatest cars of a generation, but there's a lot that can and will go wrong. And a new Z, well, it's phenomenal, but it's super expensive and hard to get. This was a very tough one, you guys, because while the 350 is hands down the cheapest way to reliably experience what a Z car can do, and is arguably the most important one after the 240 they ever made, seeing as it pretty much saved the Nissan brand, it's gotta be the 370Z. Because, well, it's the perfect blend of modern performance, comfort, and styling with all the attributes that make a Z a Z. So, to recap, the Nissan Z line is the car you buy when you want a thrill of a sports car with the reliability and style of a Japanese machine. From the futuristic 400Z, the iconic 370Z, the game-changing 350Z, and the ahead of its time 300ZX, to the humble beginnings of the 240Z, it's been one hell of a ride. But what do you guys think? Which one is your ideal pick? Let me know down in the comments below. That's it for today's episode on The Rundown. If you like this video, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. I'm Brad, this is Ideal, and promise me one thing, keep living the ideal lifestyle.